Hey everyone, hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me or if you are new here, then hi, I'm Shelly, and today I have kind of a different idea for this video. So I am here vacationing at my parents' house in California, and the interesting thing about this space is that this is the house that I grew up in. When I was born, I was brought home to this house. My parents have never moved. And yeah, so this is a very nostalgic place for me. And so coincidentally, not really actually, if you would just follow the normal timeline of someone's life who is a reader, so I learned how to read in this house, and I think that's kind of special. And so some of the books on the bookshelves are actually ones that I have grown up with. I've seen for years and years and years, that I have read or I've had them read to me. And so I thought today I would kind of peruse, I would scamper through, search through my parents' bookshelves and show you some of the books that either I remember them being read to me, I remember reading, or I just remember seeing them on the shelf my entire life. So let's see what we can get, let's see what I can get my hands on, okay? Funnily, you will all see the kinds of books that I grew up with, and yeah, that's going to be kind of interesting. So you'll see the books that I had around in my childhood. This can be quite revealing. So let's start with this. We have a Harvard Classics, Pilgrim's Progress, and also a little mass market paperback of the same book. My parents keep multiple copies of books they think are important or that they really love. I've definitely read Pilgrim's Progress, and I've had Pilgrim's Progress read to me, and this Harvard Classics edition is really pretty. Well, you learn something new every day. I was looking up the copyright, the original published date, and then I ended up having to look it up on my phone anyways. So Pilgrim's Progress was originally published in 1678. That is new to me, and it was originally written by John Bunyan. Okay, another book that I have seen is, and I've definitely had it read to me, is Hind's Feet on High Places, which is an allegory. These are allegories of God's love and yearning, and this is by Hannah Hurnard. I don't think I've ever said the author's name aloud, but anyways, Hannah Hurnard and Hind's Feet on High Places. This is a very well-loved book in this household. I just did it again. I was going to put this away and I was like, I didn't say when this was published. So this is adaptations from an original work that was published in 1975. My dad and I, when he visited me in South Carolina, we both bought the same book, and he got A Tale of Two Cities, which I spotted on his shelf. He has started it very slightly, and this is by Charles Dickens. A Tale of Two Cities was published in 1859, and yeah, I have yet to start my copy of A Tale of Two Cities. This is a beautiful modern library edition, and I think it's stunning, and it's a delight to see on his shelf. This next book I definitely remember seeing on my parents' bookshelf my entire life. Little did I know that it was originally published in 1563, and my parents' copy, this has been read to me. I may have read a couple of these accounts, but most of this was read to me, and that is Fox's Book of Martyrs. This is edited by W.N. Byron. Yeah, and so my parents have this copy that has this shiny, thick red bookmark attached to it, and these are accounts of people who have died for their beliefs, Christian beliefs. And so some of these are very, very brutal. It goes all the way back to like, you know, early days. Let me see when it goes back to. Let me do my actual homework. Yeah, we're talking like 44 AD accounts of people dying for their faith, and 44 AD starting out with Nero. You know, we're going all the way back, and then it will probably take you all the way up into the 1500s, more of like their present day, but for us is still quite old. Yeah, the spine of this is so familiar to me. And then the final book is one that actually I own on my shelf, and I have on my shelves, and I received it from my parents, and they have multiple copies, and that is the Trinity Hymnal, which is a hymnal I grew up singing from. And let me see if this even has a copyright date. I don't know. So I think this was put together and bound first in the 70s, but again, sort of like old texts, you know, that my parents have quite a bit of old texts. And so in the hymns that are bound in this hymnal are quite old. So at the very bottom here, you will see that there is the date of when the hymn was written. And then they're using words from the Bible, so you're, you know, again, antiquated language. I'm just sort of putting together how much sort of old language that I grew up with. Oh, and if you also perhaps didn't know or are new here, I was homeschooled. And so again, these works were not only just that of my home, but they were that of my school life, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, again, another kind of old text that I either sang from or looked at or read from, the Trinity Hymnal. This is an Easton Press edition of Pilgrim's Progress. Very, very beautiful with a golden kind of bookmark. Okay, so Night, Elie Wiesel. I found this on the bookshelf. I think this was the copy that I read originally, and I gave it to my mom. This was originally published in 1960 and is the account of Elie Wiesel, a Holocaust survivor, and his story of that experience. It's a slim little work, and I loved it the moment I read it, and with that passion, I gave it to my mother, and she read it and enjoyed it, and I believe she passed it on to my aunt. So either she bought another copy for herself, or she got the copy back from my aunt, and I love this book. Another kind of odd find that I recognize is a treasury of the world's best loved poems. This is a little velvety bind-up done in 1980, and I remember opening this and reading it. It has really lovely end papers and a little note inside, and there are poems from, let's see, there are poets from Shakespeare and the Bible, William Blake, Alexander Pope, Charles Lamb, Edward Lear, Lord Alfred Tennyson, Walt Whitman, Emily Dickinson, Rudyard Kipling. So a lot of big names in here, and it was a delight to spot on the shelf. Oh, interesting. I have this, Sugar Blues. This is a William Duffy book, and it's all about how refined sugar is not good for your body. And I remember when my dad read this, because we didn't eat sugar after that for a while, and I was a kid, and you can imagine the heartbreak that I had of not being able to have sugar as a child. And this book was the culprit of that action. Let's see, this was published this book is from 1975. All right, I also spotted, I don't think I grew up with this book, but I did spot my dad's copy of War and Peace. This is the Barnes & Noble Classics edition, and I was like, oh, that's fancy meeting you here, War and Peace. I just read you earlier this year. Ooh, I also found the To Kill a Mockingbird, which I read. This was my copy, and I mailed it to my mom. I really, really, really loved this book when I read it, and I ended up rereading it a couple of years later and loved it just as much. I'm probably due for a reread again, but I love seeing this on my mom's shelf because this is where I fell in love. This book is where I fell in love with To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, and this was published in 1960. I also found my parents' copy of Madeline that they read to me and my siblings, and this was originally published in 1939. So yeah, very interesting. It's a hardcover, and it's still around, very, very well loved, and has had many a read. I love this book. I love it. Okay, well, I'm actually going to leave it there with Madeline being the last book that I show you all. That was really kind of a walk down memory lane for me, and I could definitely do another one of these videos next year, possibly, when we come back, if the situation is the same. But yeah, that was just, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, anyhow, what did you read in your childhood? What are some nostalgic reads for you? I would love to know. What are some books that you remember seeing on your parents' bookshelves, or that you had around the house that you've just seen and know because they've been around you? I would love to know that as well. But yeah, so that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching and spending this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. And that's it. Okay, I'm gonna go now. How do I wrap up a video? I'm gonna go. I will see you all in my next one, and bye.